Welcome to Everything Explained. Today we ask, who invented banking? The short answer is, no one person did. Banking grew out of many needs, in many places, over a long period. It's a story of trust, record-keeping, and clever ideas that turned raw debt into something usable in everyday life. Ancient roots. Long before ATMs and online transfers, people kept valuables safe in places of authority, temples, palaces, city treasuries. In Mesopotamia, scribes recorded deposits of grain and precious metals and offered loans to farmers. The temple served as a kind of early bank. You could put things away, borrow against them, and pay interest. Not glamorous, perhaps, but it made moving wealth across villages and kingdoms possible. Classical and medieval foundations. Across the Greek and Roman world, moneylenders and merchants handled deposits and loans, and early receipts began to replace heavy coin in some markets. The big leap came later, when long-distance trade demanded safer ways to finance ships, caravans, and voyages. In the Islamic world and in medieval Europe, bankers and money changers offered bills of exchange and letters of credit, letting someone in one city owe a merchant in another without hauling coins halfway around the world. Goldsmiths and the birth of deposit banking. In 14th and 15th century Europe, goldsmiths in Florence, Venice, and London kept valuables for merchants. People received receipts for their deposits, which others could use to pay debts or trade. Gradually, these receipts began to act like money in their own right. Banks did not just store gold, they used some deposits to lend to others, earning interest and, in the process, expanding the idea of what a bank could do. Merchant power and bookkeeping. A few families built networks that stretched across regions. The Medici Bank, started by Giovanni de' Bici de' Medici in the late 1300s, linked merchants, princes, and popes, moving money and managing currency exchange. They used double-entry bookkeeping to keep track of complex accounts, a method later popularized by Luca Pacioli in 1494. This was more than paper skills, it was a way to see risk, profits, and obligations at a glance. Central institutions and the modern system. In 1609, the Bank of Amsterdam created a safe, trusted place for national money, and became something like a proto-central bank, clearing accounts for merchants across a wide area. A few decades later, the Bank of England was founded in 1694 to fund the government and manage national debt. These institutions set standards for trust, liquidity, and how a government could borrow with predictable terms. They helped turn banking from a private service into a public stabilizing force. New tools and the shape of today, banks developed bills of exchange into a global trade instrument, and then banknotes and deposits into widely accepted forms of money. Over the centuries, the basic idea stayed the same. Take savings from some people, lend to others, and charge a bit of interest for the service and risk. Today, digital transfers, online accounts, and credit networks do that at speed and scale unimaginable to medieval bankers, but the core promise remains: to move value where it's needed, securely and reliably. No single inventor? No? Banking is a patchwork of practices, inventions, and institutions that grew because people wanted to move, store, and trust wealth across space and time. Global echoes. The story isn't only a European tale. In China during the Song dynasty, merchants and the state used paper money and promissory notes to pay across distances without carrying heavy coins. Similar ideas spread along trade routes into the Islamic world and beyond, where Hawala-like networks and early banking houses quietly kept accounts for merchants, rulers, and common people. In other regions, Africa, the Americas, and other parts of Asia, people found ways to trust written promises, borrow against future income, and move value with less risk and more speed than coin alone. Today's banks and risks. The modern system gives us powerful tools: savings accounts that earn interest, mortgages to buy homes, credit cards, and digital payments. Banks also face big risks: bad loans, market swings, and hackers. Yet the basic service endures: take in money from savers, lend to others, and provide a safe way to pay and save. The details may change, from ledgers to processors to cloud-based systems, but the core idea stays the same: speed, trust, and the ability to turn tomorrow's money into today's opportunities. Conclusion: banking isn't the creation of a single inventor. It's a shared invention, built over centuries by many people in many places who wanted to move value, reduce risk, and help communities grow. It is a system that started with temple safekeeping and evolved into a global network that supports homes, businesses, and futures through trust and ingenuity. Banking is a shared act of trust that keeps money moving and futures growing.